Hello. Hello, lovely humans, listener, ladies, men, people, children. Hello, people. Welcome to another episode of Aufhören der Podcast. In this episode, I'm going to tell you some things I've learned about Cape Verde, about the beautiful island I have been spending the last few months. And yes, I'm going to tell you things I didn't know. I'm going to tell you surprising things. I'm going to share with you things I think you should know or could know. And yeah, unexpected things about the culture and the country. But before we do that, before we start, I would like to have a little check-in talk I'm just gonna share with you what's going on with me right now, today. And as always, I'm sharing to inspire you. So maybe you can also ask yourself, how am I? What am I doing? And how do I really feel right now? So I feel very good. I'm on day 26 of my cycle, and it's surprising that I am very high in energy, and I've worked a lot in the last few days, like really a lot. I've been like super high on adrenaline and busy. But also I'm homesick because today is the Easter Monday and my family is celebrating Easter, and I'm here already since, I think, 4 months. Initially, I planned 3 months, and I'm slowly but very surely ready to go home. I miss Europe, and I miss my parents, my friends, I miss Berlin. I can see that the spring is coming, and I love the warmth of the first sunlight in Germany. And I cannot wait to experience that too. So yeah, this was a tiny dark cloud that was in my mind and that was making me a bit foggy in the last few days. But yeah, homesickness, I always try to see it positive because it's nice to love a place. It's nice to have a place to miss. And because that's how I feel. And I was with my head not always super present in here. That's why I think it's very good for me to make this episode where I talk about the country where I am at the moment. And that's my beloved Cabo Land, Cape Verde, Cabo Verde. So let's dive right into it. Cabo Verde is a country in West Africa. It's an island country. It consists of 10 islands. And there's one of the 10 islands where nobody lives. Until 1975, it used to be a Portuguese colony. And that's also the reason why the language here, the official language is Portuguese. But they have they speak a dialect called Creole. Yeah, that's kind of, I don't know, a bit of the boring stuff. That's anyways good to know because I really knew nothing before I came here. What's very interesting here is the climate. Cape Verde is kind of in the middle of the world. It's in the middle of a lot of, if we think that Australia doesn't exist. So it's right on the equator, or very close to the equator, and it's the same distance to South America and Europe and Africa. So yeah, the climate here is very interesting because actually looking at where it is, it should be tropical here, because we are in the tropics. But there's a strong influence from the Sahara, the desert, the huge ass fucking desert in Africa. It blows all the sand here, but not on all the Cape Verdean islands. Not all 10 islands have the same climate. And that's the interesting part. Cape Verde is a country with many different climates. I live on the desert island. That means here grows mainly aloe vera. There are not many animals. There are nearly no plants. Like when you go to the countryside, so to say, when you go out of the town, it's all just like rocks and sand and some desert plants. Yeah, and that's because we get a lot of sand from the Sahara, and yeah, it's very dry. And the island which I am living on is called Sal, which means salt, and it's quite close to the continent. So, and the more far away you go from the continent, so the more to the west you go, the less the climate is influenced by the Sahara or Sahara. So the more to the west, the more into the ocean and away from the continent, the more tropical the climate gets. I've been to one other island where there were bananas growing and lot of like animals and many plants, like really, and waterfalls, and super nice. So yeah, I think that's very interesting. What else? The next point is that in Cape Verde, it belongs to the culture here that there are many musicians. Like nearly everyone here is a musician. I think I've heard once that it's the country with the most musicians compared to the people who are living here, of course. For example, the most famous musician is Cesaria Evora. And she is also on the money here, on the money bill. The Cabo money, I call it rainbow money because it's very colorful, is called escudos. And yeah, it's very colorful. And not only the money here is very colorful, but also the houses and the people. Like really, the colors of the houses, it still amazes me. And it was one of the first things that hooked me here, is that right now I'm looking out of the window and I see one house that's orange and pink, one house that's yellow, one house that's green and orange, and one house that's blue and purple. Like in Germany, I know that there's like a certain color scheme that the houses should please be, and so when you paint your house, you get some money from the government when you like pick a certain color of these color schemes. I think here they don't have it. I don't know why they do it so colorful, but it's super nice and very like unusual and very poppy colors. There's no like beigey, pastel brown or something. No. The people here like colors. They also wear very colorful clothes. Of course, the traditional African fabrics. But yeah, every grandma here I see, like there are no older persons in a mix from beige and gray. They all wear a lot of colors. Yeah, and then let's talk about the people here. Because I just mentioned when I see a grandma, that's the thing. Grandmas are very rare here. There are many children in this island here. It's very common to be a teen mom. There are so many teen moms and so many children, and it's also very common that the dads, they don't look after the children. It's not really a tragedy for most of the teen moms when the teen dad doesn't want to be a dad. And yeah, so I think many children are raised without a dad, and that's kind of normal here. And yeah, and if you see this on a bigger picture, it results in that it's a very young country. More than half of the population is under 24 years old. So that's a bit crazy. Then I wrote a list, so I'm reading from a paper. Not word by word, of course, but just like the most important points. Then regarding the culture here, I would say that it's about 1/3 Brazilian, 1/3 Portuguese, and 1/3 African. there are some like Cape Verdean people, and they look very, very special because they are black, but they have blue or light green eyes and blonde hair. If you Google Cape Verdean people, like it's very unusual how they look, and of course very rare and beautiful. But there are also many African people here. There are many people from Senegal. There are many people from Nigeria, as my friend, for example, who I interviewed, from Guinea-Bissau. Yeah, also from Europe, quite a lot of Italians and Portuguese people. So yeah, it's really a melting pot of cultures, I would say. And that's super nice. And what country is also melting into here, and that was very surprising for me and super unexpected, is Chinese. There are so many Chinese stores, like, I don't know, small kind of supermarkets. There's, in the town where I'm living, there's one supermarket that's kind of like a supermarket, and all the other ones are more like the Berlin Spätis. It's more like, I don't know, just a very small store with all kinds of random stuff, and a lot of them are Chinese. So here in my everyday life, it's normal that I say ni hao. I'm in an African desert island and I go shopping in the Chinese place. And but it's also my impression that the Chinese people, they are not so well integrated in the culture and society here. So you rarely see them, like, I don't know, going to the beach or in a restaurant or in a bar, or, you know, just hanging out, having fun, doing whatever. But they just work in the store, and apart from that, I have no idea what they do. And yeah, it's also an interesting reason, of course, why there are so many Chinese stores here. So first of all, geopolitically, Cape Verdean is very interesting for many countries, because Africa is the continent of the future, and you can, when you are in Cape Verde as a country, you can have an influence on the African continent. You are just like really close, but also here it's safe. There has been no Ebola, no diseases, and also no political like wars or Boko Haram like in Nigeria or whatever. Like, it's a really safe place. There are no diseases and no wars and no not a lot of criminals. No, I don't even know the word when you harm each other. Oh God, scheiße, I'm such a hippie, I don't know the word. Violence, no violence, there's no violence here. At least like no, like, I don't know, this kind of violence. So yeah, that's one point why different countries are interested in being connected to the country Cape Verde. And yeah, for example, and this has always been the case, because back then the slaves, when they were brought to America, here Cabo Verde was the last stop on the African continent that they were, before they were brought to America. Or Mussolini, for example, he built the airport here because he wanted to use that airport to fly to South America. And I think once also, when Barack Obama was the president of the US, he was visiting an African country, I don't know which one, but there he also had a stopover here and kind of stayed here, because it's just safe to be on an island, it's easy to control. So I guess that's also why there are so many Chinese stores here, because the Chinese people, they kind of have an agreement with Cape Verde that they don't need to pay so much taxes. And that's why, of course, it's very hard to compete for local or Cape Verdean local businesses with the Chinese businesses, because yeah, they have an economic advantage. And also, China has built a school here. Actually, I know a child who is going to that school, and the deal was that China, they said, hello, Cape Verde, we're going to build a school for you, and therefore we want to have some rights for fishing. And then Cape Verde said, yes, we need a school, but we don't need fish, and we want education, and we care more about education than overfishing or whatever. And so China has the right to fish here, and the Cape Verdean people here got a school for their children. So that was very unexpected for me, very surprising. Then, at the moment, I don't know if it's like right now or if maybe now there's a new child born, but there are 500,000 inhabitants here in the country, and outside of the country there are 3 million. So there are more Cape Verdeans living not in Cape Verde than in Cape Verde. And that's very, I don't know if this exists in many countries, but I find it rare. And since there are not so many Cape Verdean people in the world in general, I highly recommend you, if you ever meet one, grab him or her and talk to the person, because it's very rare. Not so many people are from Cape Verde. And one of the reasons why there are not so many Cape Verdean people and also not so many old people existing is because there have been 3 famines here in the history of the country where there was no fucking food and people died. And in all the 3 famines, 40% of the population died. And that's also why has been a strong emigration, that people just like left the country. What else? Okay, when we're talking about food, let's talk about drinks. First, water. Not everyone here has water at home. It's crazy. And the island where I'm living on is quite touristic. It's quite, developed. There are also countries where everything is still way slower and there's no much like need for economy, or people just live there. And there's not so much change. Like here you can see there are many stores opening all the time. There are so many tourists coming, and it's more and more hotels being built. But still, not everybody has a tap which they can turn on and then water comes out. Just in front of our house here, there's a place where the people come with like huge ass buckets, and there they get their water. And then, they need to carry the buckets home. And then they cook and they wash. And it's also, I think, very luxurious here to have a washing machine. A Cape Verdean friend of mine, for her, she didn't have a washing machine for very long in her life. So, but when we talk about drinks, let's not only talk about water, but let's also talk about, like, I don't know if this is a good change of topic, but Santa Maria, the town where I live, is a crazy party town. It's like, I don't know, like the Ballermann, or more like what Berlin is for Germany, Santa Maria is for Cape Verde, is my impression. Because when I walk around town on a Sunday or on a Monday, there are often people still awake from the party in the morning. And people who have lived here longer told me also that the parties here, it's for tourists, but not all the parties are for tourists. And even before there was a lot of tourism here, the parties were wild. And so, the Cape Verdean people, they just like to have a good time and a good party and a good dance and some good music. And what I find also very interesting, especially for like a European girl who has like studied a lot, is that what it means here for the people, what it means to work. until not so long ago, the town where I live, and actually like the most of the country, was a small fisherman's village. So the concept of work is pretty new for the people here. Like when, I don't know, in Germany in the history, it also has been that way, that people mostly have been farmers before the Industrial Revolution. And here there's not a lot of industry. Like the fishing industry is the biggest industry. They are really dependent on import here. They don't produce a lot of things, like like food, but that's it. They don't produce cars or machines or whatever things are built in Germany, for example. So yeah, they kind of come from the agricultural thing, or for them, they work so they can live. They work as fishermen so they have something to eat. And now that there are more jobs here with tourism, for example, you can tell that sometimes in just how the people behave, you know. There are not a lot of people who you meet here where you feel like, oh yeah, they are passionate about their job, they want to have a career, they work because it gives them a sense of purpose, they feel like valuable, or it makes them feel really good to do this work, to contribute, whatever, no? So the concept of a career is very odd for them, or they don't have this as strong as I have it, or as I know it from my peers. The people here work so they can live and buy food, but they don't, like, there are very little people who dream of a career that gives them a nice purpose in life. And I guess that's because tourism has been here not that long, and there's no really, and I'm also not judging. I don't know if it's a good or it's a bad thing. It's both, probably. Nah? On the other hand, I would say I don't think that people here suffer from burnout and depression and whatever the hell as much as people do in Germany. And what matters in the end is how happy you have lived. So what else do I have? Okay, a few more funny things for the end. So this ends really light. So what's a bit weird here, or funny weird, is that the streets have no addresses. When you want to tell someone where you live or where you go, there are no names and no house numbers. Like the houses have names. And then you either say the name of your house, and because it's not so big here and there are not so many houses, everybody knows like most of the names of most of the houses. So either you say the name of the house, or you just kind of describe where it is. You say, I don't know, behind the fruit market, in between where you can get the water, or something like this. So that's how you describe where you live. And then, of course, the next question is, but how do you get your post? Then there are no post boxes. No one gets letters at home. But you can order something. Here, there's one online shop called Alibaba. They ship to Cabo Land, to Cape Verde. And when your parcel then has arrived here after, like, I don't know, around 30 to 90 days after you've ordered, then the post office, they send you a text message. Because everybody here kind of knows everybody. So, and when you order, you give your phone number. So the post office, they send you a text message, hey Sophia, your parcel is here, come and pick it up. That's how it works. Or that's how I have seen it from the people here I live with, that they are friends on Facebook, the people who work in the post office, and my boyfriend. So the guy who works in the post office, he sends my boyfriend a message on Facebook that he can pick up his parcel. That's how it works. And then the last thing that I find also, I laugh about it all the time, and I hope that at some point I dare to ask for to take a picture, is because in Germany some strippers are dressed up as policemen, but in Caboland most of the like all of the policemen, they look like strippers, really. Like the official outfits of authorities here are so hypersexualized. Of course, they have like huge ass butts, the woman and the man, and they have super tight pants, and then around the upper thigh, like, I don't know, a thing with a, they look like Tomb Raider in male. They look like the masculine Tomb Raider, all of them. Like, it's really hard for me to take them seriously in a way. And yeah, that's also very surprising for me how that's so sexualized. Yeah, and that's it. That's it. These are all the points that surprised me a lot when I came here, and that I think make this country unique with the very little knowledge I have of this world with my only 28 years. And yeah, what I would like to tell you is to come here if you like. Don't waste so much water. Stop climate change, because there's a fucking island here, and I would love to take my children here in 20-30 years. And have a beautiful day.